Hello, and welcome to part one of our overview of the OB3, the One Big Beautiful Bill, and how it's going to make some updates and changes to financial aid. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., sitting on the National Mall. Okay, I'm lying to you. I'm sitting in my office. But I did record a version of these while I was in D.C. A couple of weeks ago, and the audio tone was so bad having to do a re recording so that you can actually hear me and know what these bills are all talking about. This is going to be part one of a two-part series, which is actually three videos. The second video you watch is going to be determined by which group of students you fall into, and we get to that at the very end. So, right now, we're going to do just a quick, broad overview of what we're calling the OB3, because it's a whole lot easier to say. And here's the big picture. This bill was passed on July 4th, signed into law, and it's about 775 pages, of which most of that is not financial aid. It's a reconciliation bill, so it has to deal entirely with the budget. That's why some of the provisions you maybe heard about before when it was still in the House and Senate weren't passed into the final law. Those got pulled out by the Byrd rule. And so here we have this final reconciliation bill and some of the changes having to do specifically with financial aid. And of those, we're looking at six really big changes that you need to be aware of, five of which will affect students here at my school. But the sixth may be relevant for anyone kind of catching my videos from somewhere else. The first one of these is going to be the elimination of the Grad Plus loan. So starting next year, July 1st, 2026, there will be no Grad Plus loans available to any new borrowers. And so what do they mean by new borrower? That means a new borrower who is starting a new degree program who's either never borrowed before or never borrowed at the current level that they're at. There may be some additional provisions that come out in the final regs, but we don't expect those till November of this year. Now, current borrowers should be able to continue borrowing through the end of their scheduled graduation. And so the scheduled end of their program and their time in that program. And so the longest that should be for anyone would be about June 30th, 2029. That'll be for our students that just start medical school this year. Now, another big provision that this loan has is this bill has is it's going to be revising the annual borrowing limits. So historically, medical students have been able to receive a unsubsidized loan amount of 40,500 that then could be prorated up to higher amounts if the academic year was longer than a 9-month academic year. At our school, all of our academic years are longer than 9 months, so our students received a little bit more. Now that number is actually going to increase without any proration to $50,000 per year for medical and professional schools only. So if you're in a grad program, that number doesn't apply to you. But the annual limit goes up to $50,000 per year for students starting next year. Now, they're also revising the overall aggregate and lifetime maximums, and they're changing a little bit how they do that. In the past, aggregate limit meant all loans total. Now, they're setting a $200,000 aggregate limit for professional students, which again includes medical, and that limit doesn't include anything that you took out while you were an undergrad. What it does include is any other grad programs that you've been in and any other professional programs. So say you're coming with a PharmD and now you're doing an MD, or something like that, or you did a master's and now you're doing a medical degree. Then those graduate level programs would fall at the $200,000 level. If you've received any other loans, undergrad, grad, anything, all federal loans combined, now that is going to move up to a maximum lifetime max of 257,500. The only thing that doesn't include is that if you have a Parent Plus loan that you've taken out for one of your children. Not very common. You can see the actual details in the law. I took that wording directly from there, but you can find that there if you want to pause the video and take a look right now. Otherwise, the summary here pretty much covers it pretty well. Now, another interesting change on this is something that's entirely brand new. And that's going to be loan proration for part time students. You're like, well, Casey, what on earth does that mean? Means that if you're enrolled full time, and the numbers I've got here on the screen are for my students, if my students are enrolled full time, that's a minimum of 12 credit hours. Now, most of our semesters are a little bit more than 12 credit hours, so that you're going to be totally fine. But let's say you're a fourth year student who's taking a little bit less because you've got interviews, you've got studying for and taking step two, things like that, and you're enrolled in only 6 hours. Well, now the proration means that you're only half time, half of that 12 hours, and you can only receive half of the eligible loans. And we don't have all the details on that. And so that's why, we don't yet know. You can see there, what if you're taking 8 credit hours? We don't know if that's halftime or if they're going to allow us to do a by hour proration on that. It's entirely possible they could say, well, there's half and three quarter and full time and no other options. And so we're just kind of waiting to see what that means. So at 8 hours, you could receive a little bit more under the new limits. That would be a little over 13,000. Or if they still consider that halftime, you'd receive 12,500 for that semester. Next, we've got a major change in deferments and forbearance. Now, just to start, before anyone gets worried, there is no change to your in school deferment. If you're in school, you're still not going to be making payments on your student loans. That's kind of a given. That has had no change whatsoever. But in the past, you've had options for other types of deferments, for things like hardship deferments or a mandatory residency deferment that you've been able to request. And those are all gone. Every single one of those has been eliminated, and it's been replaced with something we don't actually have a lot of details on right now. Right now, all I know for certain is that you can receive up to a 9 month deferment at any time over a 2 year period. So I guess after your 2 years is up, you could receive another 9 month deferment or something like that. But no more than 9 months in over a 2 year period can be deferred on your student loans. So you'll have to be making payments. The good news is there is a new repayment plan. We'll cover that in video two. Um, the last one we're talking about right now is the endowment tax. This does not affect state schools. So our school is entirely exempted. For those of you who are watching this who may attend some private schools, you're going to want to find out from your school if their endowment's going to have any issues. That will affect their ability to continue to receive scholarships or award scholarships, I should say, at the same level. It's not a major change. We were able to avoid some of that, but there will be some changes for those schools, private schools with an endowment. Now, this is the end of part one. What I want you to know is that for part two, you're going to make a choice here. You're going to decide, do I watch part 2A? That's for my current students in the classes of 2026 to 2029. So my current M1s to M4s as of right now, which is July 25. Or if you're looking at starting med school in a future year, or maybe also, and I'm going to add this one here, if you're looking at extending your medical school career past your current scheduled graduation date through a leave of absence for some research or an additional study time for STEP or any other reason whatsoever, you may want to watch part two. But that's for all future students who will be starting school after July 1st of next year, July 1st, 2026.